Most people miss this top 3 hike in Theodore Roosevelt National Park. It's in the South Unit, but you have to get on the highway to find it. Even crazier, did you ever think you'd want to hike a national park trail from a rest area? Today we're breaking down 10 things you need to know about the Painted Canyon Trail in Theodore Roosevelt National Park. Let's get started. Most people will want to know, before anything else, is the Painted Canyon Trail in Theodore Roosevelt National Park worth it? If you only stay at the overlook, you're seeing a 2D version of the Badlands. When you get down into the canyon, it becomes a 3D experience. You start to see the different colored layers, the reds, the oranges, and the blacks up close. You see the scoria, which are the red rocks formed by ancient underground coal fires. You get to walk among the juniper trees and the sagebrush, and the silence down in the canyon floor is a stark, peaceful contrast to the hum of the interstate just a few hundred yards away. It's the best bang for your buck hike on the entire state of North Dakota because it gives you the full Badlands experience without requiring a 10-mile backcountry trek. It's worth it. So, where is the Painted Canyon Trail in Theodore Roosevelt National Park located? The Painted Canyon Trail is unique because of its accessibility. It's located at the Painted Canyon Visitor Center, which sits right at exit 32 off Interstate 94, or to be blunt, it's the rest area. Now, here is the insider tip. This trail is actually located in the South Unit of Theodore Roosevelt National Park, but it's geographically separated from the main loop road in Medora. You don't have to drive through the town or wait in a long line at the main gate to get here. It's essentially a high-end National Park Service managed gateway that sits on the edge of the canyon right off the interstate. If you are heading west toward Montana or east towards Bismarck, it is the perfect strategic stop to break up a long day of driving without adding an extra hour of transit time to your itinerary. We'll discuss gear recommendations next, but if you are just passing through or coming from Medora, you should ask, how long is the Painted Canyon Trail in Theodore Roosevelt National Park? On paper, this is a moderate 4.2-mile round trip out and back trail. However, in the hiking world, mileage can be deceiving. Because of the elevation change and the sheer amount of photo ops, you'll want to budget at least 2 hours. You aren't just walking a flat mile, you are descending from the canyon rim down into the heart of the Badlands formations and then working your way back up with an elevation gain of about 500 feet. If you're a photographer or you're hiking with kids who want to inspect every rock and lizard, you might even push that to 2.5 hours. Don't rush this one. The transition from the high prairie at the top to the sheltered canyon floor at the bottom happens quickly, and the change in perspective is worth the extra time. Before we continue, are you liking this walk and talk format? We share all of our national park trips in this way. Subscribe today so that the next time you search out a national park we've been to, our videos come up at the top of your search results. Okay, back to the list. And what gear should I use to hike the Painted Canyon Trail in Theodore Roosevelt National Park? Let's talk gear because the terrain here is trickier than it looks. The trail is primarily composed of bentonite clay. When it's dry, it's crumbly like popcorn. When it's wet, it's like walking on a bar of soap. I highly recommend a pair of hiking shoes with a rugged tread, but at least wear closed-toed shoes. Leave the sandals and flip-flops in the car for this one. I also suggest trekking poles for the descent to save your knees and provide a third point of contact on those loose sections to be cautious, or if you have balance issues. With a hike like this, the North Dakota wind and sun can dehydrate you faster than you realize, so water is a must. But this trail isn't visited by many people, at least not the morning we hiked, so make sure you pack a first aid kit, snacks, and a flashlight too, in case you get caught on the trail after dark. If you want to see the exact gear we use, from the multi-tools I carry to my favorite day pack, I've put links to our National Park Essentials kit in the video description below. Being prepared is the difference between a great memory and a ruined adventure. Before we discuss the wildlife, let's first answer the question, how hard is the Painted Canyon Trail in Theodore Roosevelt National Park? I'd categorize this trail as moderate, but let's be specific about the moderate part. The trail is well defined and easy to follow, so you aren't going to get lost. However, you are going to drop down into the Badlands a decent elevation in a relatively short distance. This is a reverse hike, meaning the easy part is at the beginning and the hard part is at the end. You start with a beautiful descent, but remember you have to pay for that descent on the way back out. The switchbacks can be a bit of a lung burner, especially if the temperature is climbing. If you have heart or knee issues, take it slow. For a healthy adult or an active kid, it's a fun challenge that provides a great sense of accomplishment when you crest back over the rim. Before we continue, what are you looking forward to in Theodore Roosevelt National Park? Join the conversation and comment today. Are there bathrooms at the Painted Canyon Trail in Theodore Roosevelt National Park? One of the biggest perks of this trail is the infrastructure. Because it's attached to the Painted Canyon Visitor Center and Interstate rest area, you have access to clean, modern, flush toilet restrooms and climate-controlled facilities. There is a drinking fountain to refill your water bottles and a gift shop where you can pick up a map or a souvenir. There are also plenty of picnic tables with some of the best views in the country. It's the ultimate civilized trailhead. If you're traveling in an RV or towing a trailer, the parking lot is specifically designed with long stalls to accommodate larger rigs, making it incredibly stress-free to pull in, hike, and get back on your way. The Visitor Center also has an information desk if you want to ask questions about Theodore Roosevelt National Park. Before we discuss whether you have to pay an entrance fee, we'll answer the question, what wildlife can you see on the Painted Canyon Trail in Theodore Roosevelt National Park? Theodore Roosevelt National Park is like a mini Serengeti, and the Painted Canyon is a prime spot for wildlife. Bison are the heavy hitters here. It is very common to find a massive bull grazing right next to the trail. Remember the rule, give them at least 25 yards of space. If they stop what they are doing to look at you, you're too close. Even though we didn't see bison the day we hiked, scat and hoof prints were everywhere. You also might see the feral horses that roam this unit. They often move in small bands and are breathtaking to see against the canyon walls. We saw them off I-94 between Medora and the Painted Canyon Visitor Center. Keep an eye out for pronghorn on the rim and prairie dogs at the bottom. And a quick safety tip, this is rattlesnake country. They generally want nothing to do with you, but keep your eyes on the trail and don't go sticking your hands in rock crevices. The trail is single file in most places with vegetation that can hide snakes, so stay alert. Even though we didn't see any snakes, we heard rustling ahead of us, low to the ground on the trail. We'll discuss the fee next, but if you're going to Theodore Roosevelt, you must be local or a true national park lover like us. Read the video description for a link to subscribe to our newsletter. You'll get deals on gear we've used and recommend, current news on the national parks, and more. Okay, is there an entrance fee to hike the Painted Canyon Trail in Theodore Roosevelt National Park? This is a good question because of its location off the highway. Technically, this is national park land and you are supposed to have a park pass. But because it's a rest area, the vehicles are not required to have a park pass. There is no man fee booth at the entrance of the Painted Canyon parking lot, and many people assume it's free. If you have an America the Beautiful pass, keep it on your dashboard. If you don't have one, you can actually buy one or a site-specific digital pass at the Visitor Center. But supporting the parks helps maintain these trails and the clean bathrooms we just talked about. So it's worth being honest if you hike the trails. Plus, with a National Park Pass, it will get you into the South Unit Loop Road in Medora as well. We'll discuss dogs on the trail next, but every good hiking video needs a dad joke. Why do Dalmatians make the worst criminals? Because they always get spotted by the police. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Are dogs allowed on the Painted Canyon Nature Trail in Theodore Roosevelt National Park? I know many of you travel with your dogs. We love our labs too, but unfortunately dogs are not allowed on the Painted Canyon Trail. National park policy is pretty strict. Pets are allowed on paved surfaces and in parking lots, but not on the dirt trails. This is for their safety and the safety of the wildlife. A bison or a wild horse will react very differently to a dog than they will to a human. If you have your pup with you, they can certainly enjoy the paved overlook area on a leash, but you'll need to swap out with a partner if you want to hike down into the canyon. We walked our dogs daily in the Medora campground to the Little Missouri River. Check out our channel for the campground review. When is the best time to hike the Painted Canyon Trail in Theodore Roosevelt National Park? Timing is everything in the Badlands. If you can, aim for the early morning or the late afternoon. There is absolutely no shade on this trail, and in July and August, the temperature on the canyon floor can be 10 degrees hotter than at the rim because the rock walls radiate heat. Golden hour is spectacular here. The setting sun makes those red layers in the canyon look like they are glowing. Seasonally, late spring and early fall are the sweet spots. In the early spring, the trail can be closed due to grease mud, that bentonite clay we talked about, which becomes impassable when the snow melts or after a heavy rain. Always check the trail status at the Visitor Center before you head down. To continue learning about Theodore Roosevelt National Park, watch this video next.